stating that we would like to return to our jobs. I received the email back from the chief of personnel with paperwork to fill out, which I did and sent back to him. I received the email back telling me to make an appointment with the medical office. There were long stretches in between emails from the personnel. And when I didn't get back, I reached out to Councilwoman Ariola's office, which intervened along the way. After my medical appointment, I was given returning dates and was back to work. Knowing that my brothers and sisters were still fighting to return to work, I kept in touch with the Councilwoman's office. I knew there were firefighters in the exact same position as me that weren't being allowed back to their jobs. My return wasn't an easy one. After being out of work for months, I was finally able to return to the firehouse in the community where I served, only to be pulled off the job yet again and told to report to FDNY headquarters, where I was told I must sign a waiver of my civil rights in order to be back in the firehouse. Yet again, the councilwoman's office intervened, and I was able to go back to the job that I love. The other members of FDNY and all other city agencies want the same. They want to work for the city that they love and the residents that they wish to serve. I ask you that you all vote yes for Resolution 5, calling for equity for all city workers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Sal Meyer. As of January of 2022, I was a 16-year vet with the FDNY. The very next month, along with 1,700 other brothers and sisters serving the city of New York in different capacities, were terminated by the city we faithfully love. A year later, on February of 2023, Mayor Eric Adams rescinded the vaccine mandate. It was through grassroots organizations like Bravers for Choice that we were informed and instructed on how to apply to be reinstated. Within 2 days of receiving said instruction, I emailed FDNY Chief of Personnel, respectfully requesting I be afforded the opportunity to resume serving the people of our city as a member of the department. Months passed before finally receiving official reinstatement forms, of which I promptly completed, notarized, and submitted on 2 separate occasions, as instructed by the FDNY. Yet I sit here today still awaiting the call to report for duty. Thankfully, there are brothers and sisters similarly situated who have been justly reinstated without having to sign off on concessions as a condition to return to work, as our brother, Jude Pierre, gave testimony to. The blatant double standard witnessed in New York City's reinstatement process amounts to a caste-like system marginalizing a segment of society as second-class citizens. The City Council prided itself on advocating for equality, and rightly so. We therefore respectfully and humbly ask you to support Resolution 5. This bill does not bestow special rights on individuals, but only what is inherently right and just. We thank you for your time, and may God bless us and keep us.
Thank you so much.
Good afternoon. My name is Jack Wayland. I was an EMT with the FDNY for over 14 years. I'm here representing former FDNY EMS workers fired over non-compliance with the COVID vaccine mandate. After the public sector mandate was lifted in February 2023, there was a lack of communication and protocol regarding reinstatement. I wasn't informed by mail or phone call or email informing me of the process to come back. In June 2023, within 1 year of being fired, I initiated contact with the fire department to inquire about the reinstatement. When unanswered, finally I received an email asking me to surrender my right to sue, just for the possibility of maybe getting my job back. Other members were reinstated, no waivers required. Even retirees could return without signing away their legal rights. The double standard is clear and unacceptable. I ask you today, the city claims no wrongdoing. If the city claims no wrongdoing, why must I forfeit my right to sue in order to reclaim a position I should have never lost? And if wrongs were committed, why am I still being penalized while others are being made whole? Reapplying as a rookie EMT after 14 years of dedicated service was and still is a condition I'm unwilling to make. With Resolution 5, you guys can right this wrong. Vote to reinstate every worker terminated under the mandate. Send the message that New York values its public servants. We served the city courageously for years. Now it's time for you to have our backs. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Tom Cole. This is going to be my third time giving testimony here in this iconic building. To be honest with you, I'm tired of addressing this issue. I'm grateful to those of this community who have been very supportive of the fire in New York City workers. Some of them won't be here today to give testimony. As someone who was forced to retire from the fire department after 38 years of dedicated service by local lives and Dan and I was not taking a shot, I realized as much standing as anyone to give testimony today. I'll be brief. But I'm going to quote a fellow civil servant who was also forced to retire as well, my friend John. Americans who refused to take the COVID-19 vaccine paid higher price than those that waited to release COVID-19. That overwhelming majority of Americans are okay with that. But that's the end. Today I'm here to support those who was their livelihoods because of that U.S. mandate. Those who stood up for first principles and medical freedom. You know what Anthony Fauci used to tyrannically refer to as ideological old sugar, right? And they have still yet to be regarded. You all know what the mandate was never about health science. It had always everything to do about political science and more importantly, political power. It's time to make those 5 members of the New City workforce whole again. And by supporting resolution number 5, that's the first step. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much to this first panel. I open up for questions from my colleagues, if any. Councilmember Yola.
Firefighter, thank you so much for coming in today. So, if I understood your testimony correctly, the law department stated that you could not return without a waiver because you were a complainant and had an active lawsuit. Is that correct?
Actually, they never gave me any reason why I had to sign the waiver. The only time they made reference to the waiver was when they told me that they were not able to process my reinstatement applications if I did not sign it.
So, but at that point, were you on the lawsuit as a complainant with several other members of the department who were still active at the time you requested your reinstatement?
Yes.
Firefighter Pierre, I know that your road back to your job was not an easy one, and that you were treated poorly while you were getting reinstated, and I apologize for that.
Thank you.
But you were also named on that same lawsuit as a complainant, is that correct? The same as Firefighter Mayor?
Yes, that's correct.
Yet, you were both named on the lawsuit, but you were not required to sign a waiver or drop your Article 78, is that correct?
I think myself, Article 78 might have been denied at that point, but I was still part of the lawsuit. But when they sent me the initial paperwork to get reinstated, they didn't include the waiver.
Were you ever made to sign a waiver?
Yes, I was in the firehouse for about a week, and my officer was having time, started putting me into the payroll. He was like, you basically won't be able to get paid until I put you in the payroll. So we were trying to figure out what the issue was. And then I got a call saying that there was additional paperwork I needed to sign, and it said basically I wouldn't be able to get paid until I signed the waiver. But I was already back working in the firehouse about a week at that point.
So the waiver was an afterthought?
They didn't really explain to me why they decided then to give it to me, but they just said if I wanted to start, I would continue my service while working as a firefighter, I wanted to start signing. So then, I reached out to see what other opportunities I had because, that would affect in my decision to come back if I knew I had to sign the waiver.
And did you sign the waiver?
No, I did not.
And are you working actively?
Yes, I am.
Thank you. Firefighter Mayor, have you ever been given a reason why you were asked to sign a waiver while other members did that conversation ever arise?
No, that never came up. It was never indicated to me why that was so important for the city, for me to sign that waiver.
Was it given to you as a condition?
Yes,
And if you had filed for a vested retirement, knowing what you know about retirees not being reinstated without having to sign a waiver, would you have been asked to sign a waiver to be reinstated if you had retired?
no,
The whole point of this is to show that there is no real protocol. There is no real balance or equity. I'd like to change my questions now to EMS Lynn. At the time the mandate was ordered, a mutual aid agreement between the FDNY and Volunteer Fire Corps was active in New York City. Is that true?
Yes, that's correct.
So, from the time the mandate was put into place in October of 2021, where you were no longer able to do your job, members of the volunteer fire and ambulance corps throughout this city who were not mandated to get a vaccine were able to do your job. Would that be correct?
That's correct.
So members of the FDNY now, who responded to the same emergencies as our valued volunteer fire departments, were made and mandated to take a vaccine, while volunteer fire department members were not. Have you been reinstated?
No, I have not.
Have you been given a reason as to why you're not reinstated?
I was told that I need to sign the DCAS waiver in order to be considered for possibly being reinstated.
Are there colleagues of yours that were reinstated without having to sign a waiver?
Yes.
Same story.
Yes.
Thank you so very much for your testimony, and thank you so much for letting everyone on this panel know why they need to sign on to Reso 5 and why the state needs to pass this legislation. Thank you. Thank you so much for your testimony.
Thank you, Chair Willa, and thank you to this first panel. The next panel will include Michael Haynes, Trinidad Smith, Alfonso Ventura, Daniel Bowler, and Martin Beckham. I apologize if I messed up anybody's name. Just reintroduce yourself, it's on the record when you each of them. All right, you may begin. Just identify yourself for the record one more time, and thank you.
My name is Daniel Mokawa. I work for the New York City Department of Sanitation for 5.5 years. I was fired for refusing to comply with the COVID-19 vaccine mandate. Just want to point out that City Council mentioned nobody should have a lapse in their health care or experience that. 3 years I've had no health care now. When Eric Adams issued Order 62 mandating the vaccine for city workers, he added an important caveat that exempted celebrities as they generate income for New York City. I wish to apologize to Mayor Adams. I'm sorry that I'm too short to play basketball. My singing voice is best confined to my shower and not broadcast through a loudspeaker or on a Broadway stage. I'm sorry that I avoided the open casting for Home Alone, despite my grandmother suggesting my mom audition me, so that maybe today I could have been a world famous actor. I'm sorry that all I had to offer the city was my muscles, my only contribution picking up New York's trash and plowing its snow. Although the city does make some money on paper recycling, my job doesn't generate Broadway bucks, so I wasn't privileged enough to be given an automatic mayoral exemption from the vaccine. As smoothly as it went to terminate my employment, despite me being a member in good standing of a municipal labor union, getting back not so much. I sit here nearly 3 years after winning our case and being ordered back at 6 a.m. the next day, treading through stay after stay until the city could finally be dragged kicking and screaming into oral arguments, and I'm still not back to work. They're going to keep pushing resources into the appeals against us. Mayor Adams chooses to continue to drag this out instead of throwing in the towel, giving me what is owed to me, and letting me go back to work. Here I am begging for a bill to be voted on money to support other bills that order me back to work. When all this could end tomorrow, they'll call me into the city law office and they get told to drop the appeals and waivers against us and just put us back already. I'm just a callous-handed, middle-class dude, the backbone of New York. I never asked anything from the city, but until the day comes when I can finally get the call to report back to my district, I will keep coming here to testify. I will keep reminding everybody of the continued injustice being launched against unlawfully terminated middle-class New Yorkers who aren't asking for handouts. As I said at the last city council meeting, and I'll continue to say until it finally happens, I just want my due compensation and the damages owed to me, and I just want to go back to throwing garbage in the rain.
Thank you so much. Next panelist, please.
Good afternoon, my name is Alfonso Ventura. When the COVID-19 pandemic began, I, like another municipal worker, was pushed to work. I was working in the video restaurant in New York City, the school. I was working at PS8, located at Amsterdam Avenue and 68th Street. Even though I followed all kinds of recommendations in order to avoid the COVID-19, I get in and I get immunization. That was my reason for rejecting the vaccine. I was reluctant when the DOE know that I reject the vaccine. They was pushing me to sign paper, but I was reluctant to sign any paper because to me it made any sense. On Monday, October 4th, 2021, the DOE closed me the door and I couldn't access my job. Then, from hero and essential worker, I became right away a building. The DOE closed me the door, but I didn't receive any letter, any email, anything that explained my status. I lost my job, my car, and anybody gave me employed because I was not vaccinated. Without job, without money, and without employment insurance, I was a hero and homeless. I spent almost 4 years in shelter. On December 22, a friend told me that DOE was reinstalling worker that had been suspended by COVID vaccine. Immediately, I called Raul Rodriguez from DC 730. He told me that I should talk to Pamela Rodriguez, DC 772. I sent her a text message on December 16, 2022. She answered it on December 22. I called her by phone and explained my situation, and her recommendation was that in order to be reinstalled, I need to apply again. I need to apply again to the DOE of. I reject her recommendation because if I do that, I'm saying that I didn't spend more than 5 years previously the COVID-19 pandemic. Look like the DOE authority used the pandemic for getting rid of guys like me. They call unsubordinated. I reject the COVID vaccine because the coronavirus creates immunity in my body. When I get COVID-19, as a paradox, reject the COVID vaccine. The COVID vaccine has been more harmful for my life than coronavirus itself. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Next.
Hello, my name is Janetta Smith, and I would like to start out by thanking everyone. for this opportunity to share my story. I was a tenured special education teacher in the field of autism for over 20 years. My main objective here is to shine a light on how difficult the process continues to be for me and thousands of other city workers in trying to get our careers back. The City of New York and DOE failed those of us who were terminated or had resigned with a lack of outreach and guidance on re-entering the workforce. We were only told to reapply as a new teacher, as I did. I was cleared and I was put in the new teacher recruiting section of the DOE's website. I had 3 separate interviews in August of 2023. My last interview person, Deborah Lesson, in the interview with the principal in Brooklyn. Her last words to me was, "I will call you this evening to let you know what site I'm going to put you at, providing you clear HR." My immediate response to her was, "I don't know why I wouldn't be cleared, as they are the ones that cleared me to be hired." To my surprise, I did not get a call back or email or thank you for the interview, or that they were going with another candidate. Absolutely no response. That was my third interview in a row that was left like this. I understand perhaps one no callback, but 3 in a row is highly unlikely and unprofessional. I stopped interviewing after that, and I truly feel that HR is being instructed by the legal department not to clear me. I won my right to work in September 2023 and was ordered by Judge Stroud Physio to go back to work at the start of this past school year. I arrived to work with a court order in hand and was denied access to my job site and made to wait outside for hours to be told by the current principal that as per legal, I was not allowed back to work. After 20 years of service, I was humiliated and made to wait on the sidewalk. Just last week, I received an invitation from the Teacher Recruitment Center asking me to apply for summer school with a 1-week deadline approaching. I would be genuinely grateful if I could work for summer school, as I have done for my full 20 years straight with the DOE. Thank you.
Hey, my name is Michael Kane. I was a New York City special ed teacher for over 14 years. I lost my job over the vaccine mandate and founded a group called Teachers for Choice. I thank you, Chairwoman De La Rosa. Thank you, everybody here, especially the minority leader, Councilwoman Ariola, who's just been, heroic for us, and I appreciate that. Thank you so much to Councilwoman Joseph for being here and everybody for being here. I first just have to note that it really struck me to hear Alfonso talk about homelessness from this. And I didn't know that. I just met Alfonso. Our friend Daniel Vila from Lobos Latino introduced us. And that's the type of loss this has had. And so when we're trying to get back, it's so important. There's 2 real things I want to talk about. One is that I've been involved in 2 major lawsuits. One is Kane versus de Blasio, that is currently in the Second Circuit Court of Appeals, paired with 2 other lawsuits. It's been sitting there 17 months. And then a state lawsuit called DeCapua versus the City of New York. Trinidad is a named plaintiff along with me in both of those cases. And in the state case, we did have a victory, as Trinidad had just talked about, and we're now back to work. The appeals process goes on and it continues on. And the last thing I want to talk about is what Trinidad said too. She's blocked. She feels she's blacklisted. And we know this is in court record, and we talked about it in City Council. There are problem codes that have been placed on unvaccinated educators that have provided roadblocks. Some educators have gotten it admitted to them, and others, like Trinidad, she suspects it, but she just can't prove it. Please support Resolution 5. There's no reason for this anymore. There's no reason for an impediment. We might disagree on the past. I don't think we disagree on the future. We need to move forward. Thank you all so much.
Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, council members. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak today. My name is Marlon Bethel. I'm a former NYC detective. Contrary to the lies that have been told by the Adams administration, NYC cops were not only forced out of their careers, but some, like myself, were terminated and today prevented from returning to work lest they waive their rights. There are members of this body that are fond of preaching the virtues of social justice and minority rights. So I ask, where is the equity that a minority, an immigrant to this country, a resident of the city, and a 15-year veteran cop with over 200 arrests and citations from the NYC and the Kings County District Attorney's Office cannot return to work unless I waive rights bestowed upon me by the laws of this nation, state, and city itself? How can we expect workers, the arm of government, to operate with fairness and equity if they are being discriminated and extorted of their own individual civil liberties. The return to work process has been a disjointed mess from the get-go. This is in no way an outrageous statement. The NYPD's own procedure was not detailed until a week after Eric Adams announced the cancellation of the mandate, and was not distributed to former employees by the department. I myself only became aware of the change after being called by former colleagues who themselves saw the mayor's press conference and had no idea about the details, as the department had sent out no notifications or emails. After making numerous calls throughout the department, I was finally able to speak to somebody who explained the procedure to me. And the procedure itself was as arbitrary as the deadline that was set for reinstatement. It glossed over a lot of minutiae like back pay, return to work, return of accrued vacation time, return to prior unit, pension shortages due to the lapse in contributions, and worst of all, the procedure explicitly noted that I must sign a waiver in order for me to return. Throughout my career, I have always sought to not overstep the civil rights of other individuals, including those who don't respect our own laws. As I sit there, I can't help but wonder, why must I now give up my own? Had I simply chose fraud and dishonesty and used a fake vax card, I would have been reprimanded and still allowed to do my job. So why is it that having chosen honesty and actual science, I'm no longer allowed to be there unless I sacrifice my additional rights? It is time for this council to send a message. I think it's time for the council to send a message, okay, on behalf of your constituents, some of who are all in here, and we all work for the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Cano, I want to open it up for questions, so please don't move for 1 second. I know that Minority Leader Brody has a question, and I believe Councilmember Joseph. Minority Leader.
Just a question for Health Hour. You mentioned you won a lawsuit.
Yes.
Can you just explain the merits of the case and what the judge found?
So Garvey et al. Was decided in October of 22. It was in Article 78. We basically declared the entire mandate arbitrary and capricious. The entire rollout we were ordered back the next day at 6 a.m., but the city was applying for a stay for the ferry reached South Street. They already had a stay going, and they've just been continuously staying us ever since. But basically our case declares the entire mandate rollout arbitrary and capricious.
And the decision also requires that you and the other complainants be restored to work.
We were ordered back to work at 6 a.m. the next day, but as I said, the city has been staying us for the past, like every opportunity the city gets to throw a stay at us, they'll take it. They can throw a 10 minutes extra, they'll do it.
Were all the complainants sanitation employees?
Yes, everyone was a member of the DSNY, either 831 or 444.
And other employees that weren't a part of your lawsuit that was successful have been reinstated?
Not that we don't know actually what's going on with anybody else. They've kept everything pretty much in the dark. We only know about the 16 of us from our group, from our lawsuit. We have found stragglers here and there from the internet and whatnot, but I don't know of anybody. I'm not sure, to be honest with you, because we are completely in the dark, and the city doesn't release any information about how many sanitation workers were fired, how anyone was reinstated. We do know that people from other agencies have been, but from what I understand from sanitation, I don't know.
Thank you.
Thank you, Minority Leader. Councilmember Joseph, followed by Councilmember Marrero.
Thank you so much. First of all, thank you for your service, my fellow educators. I was educated for 2 decades before I became a council member. I'm also the education chair here at the City Council. I have a couple of questions for you. How did you find out you could be reinstated to your positions?
I found out
the judge that I was cleared to go to work. And he wanted me there the next day, bright and early with the kids, first day of school, and I was excited for opposite.
I can imagine, serving as an educator for 2 decades as well, so no one did any outreach to you to let you know you could return. You had to find out through other means?
No, and even when I keep getting through with all these interviews, to the very last step, all 3 interviews, they aren't even, they aren't even allowed to call me back. I'm getting absolutely no response from them at all.
And just one thing I want to add to that, we found out because the mayor ended the mandate 2 days before we went to the Second Circuit Court of Appeals, which was very interesting timing. So I knew about that. But we didn't get any outreach. Teachers reached out to me and to teachersforchoice.org, asking us, hey, what's going on? What do we have to do? Eventually, I spoke to Beth Norton, who's the general counsel of the UFT, who told me everything, had a 40-minute call for our order. Then I have it published on the website now. When people ask, I send it to them. So this administration has been really lacking in any form of outreach. It really seems like they just wanted to act like it didn't happen and make it go away, as opposed to admitting, okay, maybe some mistakes were made, here's how we'll fix them. It just seems like that part never happened.
Wow. How many of those teachers been able to be reinstated without signing a waiver? Do you know any of the educators that were reinstated?
I know some educators who were. Obviously, they're not excited to come down here and raise their hand and say their name and tell that it happened. And I know some who refuse to go back because they're insisting on the waiver. And I know someone who went back, some in tears, because they said, my spouse is going to leave me if I don't go back, so I'm going to sign this waiver. They didn't want to, but they did. So there's no uniformity in this. It has been a hodgepodge. It depends what district you're in, depends on your relationship with your principal, depends on all of these different big bureaucratic things, not a defined policy.
Off the top of your head, can you tell me how many educators altogether? Just
Of which category?
that was out of work, that are still out of work, and those that have returned. Do you have an idea?
I'm sure hundreds, if not thousands, have returned because they had to.
Right.
Many signed the waiver, maybe some not. I'm positive hundreds still want to. I'm positive of that based on the emails and stuff I get. It could be thousands, but I don't know for sure.
Another quick question, just for clarification, our city is going through a shortage of special education teachers. And I know I was an ENL coordinator before I left to join the council, so I know what shortage looks like. And this is a moment where we need shortage areas. And if you're watching anything, our preschoolers are home, about 700 that have no preschool education teachers. And so you guys are needed in the city, so I hope the administration is listening and get you guys back to work.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Sure. That there are teachers that were found to have fake cards, and they don't have a slap on the wrist and they're back to work. So, I mean, it's like if they want honesty, they're not necessarily showing through example.
Teachers always want to teach, guys. We love what we do. We love it because we do it. I miss teaching, but I'm here for a greater purpose. So thank you for your service. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Morado.
So I'd like to thank all of you for your service. Really do appreciate it in the city, and especially Detective Bethel. Thank you for your 16 years in protecting our entire city. We appreciate that. From listening to your testimony, it sounded like you found out from other co-workers that you could be reinstated. Was there any outreach done by the department to the members?
No, there was not.
Okay.
There was none. I had to initiate phone calls to multiple departments within the multiple bureaus within the department.
Sorry to hear that. And as retired members of the department that were forced to retire because they did not want to comply with the mandates, were they able to return to the department without signing a waiver? And did anyone ever explain to you why you were being treated differently than other retirees?
Yes, they were. No one ever explained it to me.
Sorry to hear that. And I hope everything works out for all of you and behind this. Thank you.
I want to thank this panel for your service and for continuing to come here. I've seen you at least in 3 other hearings, so we appreciate it and we look forward to getting this resolution done. Thank you so much for being here for your service.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Up next, our third panel is Christine Gross, Mo Olivieri, Diane Pagan, Michael Tracy, and Edwin Wallace. Thank you. And you may begin and just identify yourself for the record so we can track. Thank you.
My name is Christine Burse. In September, in September of 2021, I should have been starting my 21st year as a teacher. Instead, I took a leave of absence because I needed medical insurance, and then I was fired in September of 2022. I was certainly not informed in February of 23 that by the Department of Ed or my union that I could go back to work. I heard most of this information on the news, and I didn't bother because, as far as I understood, there was going to be no back pay and no leaving me whole. And secondly, I would have to find a principal who was willing to hire me. And my principal at my school had just started that year, so I had absolutely no relationship with her. And as being somebody who has stood strong with kids for 21 years, I can't imagine any principal who's willing to hire me back. But anyhow, this should be the end of my 24th year of teaching, and instead I've lost hundreds of thousands of dollars, and I'm now collecting food stamps. I thought this was about being made whole in our back pay act, so I kind of prepared things that don't really make any sense for this now, but I did want to say that in my research on looking into this, I found out that at the end of July of 2021, the city was offering $100 for people to take the vaccine. And apparently 800,000 New Yorkers took advantage of that, which, I'm a math teacher, but that's $80 million, which I can kind of understand why we need to fire ourselves if we paid $80 million for people to take one dose of the vaccine when the vaccine wasn't even effective without 2 doses. So I am just here today to say that I would like to be made whole. I would like to go back to my career and not be 6 years away from when I thought I was going to retire with no money, because when I should be making my 22-year longevity, I'm now not making anything. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, to the committee members, and those from outside the committee, to allow these members to tell their stories. My name is Michael Tracy. I'm from the Uniform Fire Officers Association, and I'm testifying quickly today to communicate our support for this resolution, which puts the politics of vaccines aside and asks for a transparent and consistent process to rehire these city employees. As union representatives, when workplace rules pass, we have a choice: either challenge that rule or to make sure it's fairly and equitably enforced. In this case, that sense of fairness and equity is missing from the process. In early June, when the city of Los Angeles, a city that was far more arbitrary in its enforcement of vaccine requirements, changed course and removed vaccination as a requirement of employment, it immediately provided a pathway back for these workers. We asked the more highly functioning New York City government to follow suit. I'm going to change course quickly and discuss the FSA because I have an opportunity. It's important to us as a labor union. We talk a lot about labor movement, and in this committee, I know it's important you chair, about affordability for city workers who have families. I can't think of any better opportunity aside from a pay raise to deal with this than the FSA, which includes DCAP. And you will know DCAP covers a lot of expenses such as camp, daycare, and other things. We implore this committee to press all along on increasing windows for enrollment. That's very important. Electronic payment cards, which I understand might be a little distant in the future considering the discussion of the portal. Omni, eligibility for transit checks. And have agencies provide direct enrollment as opposed to the janky OLR system, which is very difficult for a lot of workers to manage, and that's why we don't have a high enrollment process and a lower usage rate. So we thank the committee for looking at this issue and hope they'll press along in the future. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. My name is Diane Pagan. reasons I'm just quickly gonna say. And I'm gonna give an example of why the DOE is not qualified or competent, nor has any moral authority to solve this problem and why we need Resolution 5. After the vaccine mandate was lifted and I tried to get, I tried to reapply, I was treated like I had to apply as if I were a total stranger, completely new to the city and completely new to the DOE. I will not sign away my rights. I will not sign away my rights. And I will not turn in documents that I know the DOE has every stitch of document that I would have to hand in order to apply for another job. I insist on being treated with the respect that I should have garnered with my 10 years of service to the city. Number 2.
Can you please conclude?
Well, if you don't mind, this is an important example and I'll do my best to get it out in 2 minutes.
Thank you. Less than 2 minutes.
I'll do my best. Yes, I'll do my best. DOE created a leave without pay category and then reneged on the only term in the leave without pay that the DOE itself had to honor. Why do I say this? When the DOE placed me on leave without pay in October of 2021, it outlined what it said were the obligations under that leave. Under their terms, my job was to be reserved for me for the duration of the leave. However, in 2023, I discovered that the DOE had hired a new permanent employee into my position. They hired her in November of 2021. So they violated the terms of their own unpaid leave. And while I was thinking that I was on unpaid leave, they had actually already permanently replaced me. So DOE has no moral authority to do the right thing now. An agency that conducts itself this dishonestly, like the DOE and the mayor have done, cannot be trusted to create a fair and proper reinstatement process. And I just want to say in conclusion that you might want to look around and notice that most of us here are over 40, and that is another thing that has to be discussed because that would qualify us as being protected workers. I really ask from the bottom of my heart for the council to pass Resolution 5 so that we can be done with all of these past injustices and move forward. All we want is to be treated with a certain amount of decorum and not be once again put through hoops trying to apply for jobs when we were never actually legally and properly terminated. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
All right, good afternoon. My name is Oliver. I was in New York. I was born in New York, raised in New York, went to school in New York, and I was a New York City teacher for 23 years. On October 2021, I was put on a leave of absence without pay because I refused to take a vaccine. This is against my religious beliefs. April 2022, I was offered my job back in exchange for vaccination, which I refused. Then February, I hired my own Article 78. Unfortunately, I argued some of the same points as the Garden case, the sanitation case that won under Judge Porzio. Judge Sadler ruled that my case was time barred, even though Judge Porzio had said that it wasn't. I want to also highlight that the media has been misleading the public about reinstatement. A lot of folks believe that the city workers are back to work. A lot of people in the city feel like the mandate's over and everything's back to normal, which is not true. So I will not sign a waiver because a waiver is a new contract. The city needs to honor the first contract before I sign a new contract. Right? And I think it's important for that to be known. Also, I want to say that the city needs to correct a wrong that's been done to me and so many other city workers at this point in time. I think it's whatever happened during the mandate, it's safe to say that the city made a mistake. Now it's time to correct that mistake by putting us all back to work. And also consider the fact that we are, someone like me and the rest of us, we have years of service. We're no longer able to pour into our retirement. So this issue is going to spiral into retirement for many of us because there's going to be, we may not have a sufficient amount of money invested in our accounts for retirement because of this issue. guys advocate for resolution 5. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Hello, my name is Edmund David Wallace II. I am here to speak about the deprivation of the First Amendment right of freedom of religion, a basic human right. I have not worked since January 6, 2022, because New York City did not deny my religious exemption and my appeal for not taking the COVID shot/bioweapon. The past 30 months have been a burden on myself and family, causing a massive amount of undue hardship. The lie travels around the world while the truth is still tying in shoelaces. Safe and effective, they say. More like not safe and not effective. It's easier to deceive someone than it is to convince them they have been deceived. Going through this process, it pokes holes in all 3 branches of government. How is it that my religious exemption was not accepted, and yet countless other religious exemptions were approved? I'm still waiting for an explanation of which I still never received through countless emails. To plumbers, local union number 1, and steam fitters, local union number 638. At the very foundation of your core principles, it shall be first and foremost to protect your workers' rights, not go along with a globalist depopulation agenda. Ephesians 6:12. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, and against the worldly governors, the princes of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness which are in high places. In conclusion, it is my immediate demand and wish and order that you restore all that has been taken from myself without due process and all others similarly situated. That includes reinstatement, back pay, and full seniority. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
No, I don't have a question, but I do have a statement. I mean, so far, everyone who has testified has a very common thing. 1, no outreach to tell you that you could be reinstated. 2, no continuity in policy for that reinstatement. No compliance with the court when you were ordered and given your civil right to go back to work. And, everything that you're saying here is in complete contrast to what the testimony of Daniel Pollack, the first deputy commissioner of OLR, just said under oath. So I think that's very important because we're listening to people who are on food stamps, who had no jobs, who were living with family, who were living homelessly, all because you decided to take a stand, and you did take that stand. But I will say that I agree with what was said. What was then is then. What is now is now. There are no longer any mandates, and we need to get our municipal workers back on the job. I want to thank the UFOA for coming and standing up for your members today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilmember Yoda, and thank you to this panel. Thank all of you who came here to share your thoughts, your experiences, your stories with us. If there is anyone in the chamber who wishes to speak but has not yet had the opportunity to do so, please raise your hand and fill out the appearance card at the sergeant at arms. At the back of the room. Anyone else in the room that wishes to speak in person? Seeing no hands in the chamber, we will now shift to Zoom testimony. When your name is called, please wait until a member of our team unmutes you and the sergeant at arms indicates that you may begin. We will start with Anastasia Christopoulos, followed by someone named Jean. We don't have your full name, so please give that to us. Followed by Krista Odea, and then followed by Zina Wajaw. I'm hard to say that wrong. And Javier Vasquez. So we're going to start with Anastasia Christopoulos first. If you're on Zoom.
And I felt as a tenured teacher, if you're going to fire me, then charge me with something and tell me that I'm doing something wrong. And serve me with a 30/20A. I was then told to reapply with the city-wide panel, and I did, and I was denied again, appealed, and denied again. I was not allowed to work anywhere within the 5 boroughs for several months because I was not vaccinated. I was walking dogs on Rover. My family took a more than 50% pay cut, and I eventually got a position working in Nassau TV, and I took a more than 40% pay cut to work there. And if I do want to go back to the DOE, I was told I would have to reapply as a brand new employee. I would not have tenure. I would become a probationary teacher again. I would have to reapply for all my salary steps. I would not. Sorry?
Your time is expired. Please conclude.
Okay. Okay, and in conclusion, I hope that you all support Resolution 5 and get us reinstated and made whole. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Anastasia. Up next, we have Jean. Jean, we do not have your last name, so if you could please identify yourself for the record and your complete name. Thank you.
Time starts.
Hi, good afternoon. My first name is Jean and my last name is Jean. That might have been part of the confusion. I am here to support Resolution 5. Also, I was a teacher, a veteran teacher, 17 years in the Department of Education, special education teacher. I did not get the vaccine. I attempted a religious exemption. I was denied twice, and I was put on leave without pay on October 4th. Same as my other colleagues from all city agencies, there was a lack of communication, a lack of information, a lack of outreach from union, from DOE, from city board, any city agency to help guide us in what we needed to do or what was happening to us. I was not offered any type of 30/20A hearing. By October 18th, I was under so much stress from my principal calling and harassing me to see if I was coming back to work. I had to resign. Under the arbitration agreement, I was anticipating being able to collect some unemployment to be able to at least support myself until I could figure out my next steps, hoping that I would be able to get my job back in the city school system. I was a stellar employee. I never took a day off. This really was a very emotional, stressful time for me, and losing a career, I not only lost a part of who I am, but I also lost 100 colleagues. I lost something that I educated myself with 30 credits above my master's degree at the highest part of my payroll, where now I'm working and piecemealing 4 different jobs just to make half the money. At the time when I decided to sign the waiver, I was under so much stress because I didn't know how I would support myself. Like many of my other colleagues, some of them wound up homeless. I did not see myself go in that direction. So my decision was to just sign the waiver, but move forward and try to put back together pieces of my life, hoping that the mandate would be lifted and I could get my job back. When the mandate was lifted, I did attempt to reach out to several principals that I knew. No one returned my call. HR did not return my call. So I was still hearing through the grapevine the same information that all my colleagues had supported and verified, that they also only heard that if you go back, you start at 0. You have to work hard to get back to where you were. You have to apply for all your salaries, such as to find a school that can afford to hire you back, starting at the starting teacher salary, but having to know that if 17 years, you would have to try to find someone that could afford you. So anyway, please support the resolution, bring us back to work, give us our back pay, our tenure, our pension credits. I was supposed to retire in 3 years, and now I'm looking at working who knows how long, piecemealing 5 jobs just to make a third of the money.
Thank you. Thank you for coming and for testifying. Up next, we have Krista Odea.
Time starts.
Hi, my name is Krista Odea. I'm a former FDNY rescue paramedic. I was employed with the FDNY since 2005, began as an EMT, and upon completion of top class, went to Station 38 Brooklyn, where I worked for 3 years before being accepted into medic school. I attended Paramedic Basic 9 at the EMS Academy and graduated in 2008. I worked as a paramedic at Station 58 Brooklyn for 5 years, and during this time I attended training to become a hazardous materials technician and transferred to Staten Island. In 2015, I was asked to take an offline role as an ALS coordinator for Division 5 which includes Staten Island and South Brooklyn. In 2017, I was accepted into the Rescue Medic Basic Training class and was working as a rescue paramedic until I was terminated on March 15th of 2022. In addition to my work on an ambulance, I was a mentor in the FDNY Explorer program since 2014. I was also trained in the Dignitary Protection Unit, Counterterrorism Task Force, as an EEO counselor, an EEO liaison for Division 5, and as an alternate liaison to the Commissioner. In 2009 and 2021, I received Pre-Hospital Save Commendation, and in 2015, I received Paramedic of the Year Award. I also published a co-review article in FDNY EMS Pro magazine in the June-July issue of 2016, recorded a podcast with then Chief of Staff Elizabeth Cassio for FDNY EMS Pro in March of 2018, and was interviewed in April 2020 for an insight into COVID-19 emergency responders. I have poured my heart and soul into my career with the FDNY and showing exemplary dedication to my profession. Being a frontline emergency healthcare provider was a calling since childhood. Working in this field not only allowed me to fulfill my passion, but a thought about significance and purpose in my life. I truly enjoy being a paramedic and providing care for my community. I had every intention of serving the city in which I was born and raised in, where my immigrant father worked to support his family and my immigrant great-grandmother worked to support hers. I look forward to many more years as an employee of the FDNY and as a resource to the community in which I serve. When the vaccine mandates rolled out for first responders in October of 2020,
We lost your audio. Krista, we lost your audio. I don't think she can hear us.
Yeah.
Krista, can you hear us? We lost you in the audio. Let me see. I think it's a problem with her computer. She's unmuted. Oh, Krista, we lost you for a minute. Can you give your concluding statement, please?
Sure. So, just to let you know that currently at this time, after being terminated for being a paramedic, I currently work as a 911 paramedic at Robert Wood Johnson Barnabas Health in New Jersey. My religious exemption was accepted without issue. There was no panel opinions deciding whether my beliefs were valid, and I am still employed as a paramedic for Robert Wood to this day, a little over 2 years. It was very interesting to me that I could do the same exact job in New Jersey that I was doing in New York City. Just across the bridge, I was able to practice as a paramedic, which begs me to question what happens in the event mutual aid is requested by New York. According to the Emergency Management Assistance Compact, if I were to be deployed to assist as a paramedic in New York, I work, and I quote, work for the agency that requested me and would be, quote, under the operational control of that agency. I would then be working for the very same agency that fired me because of my vaccination status. Additionally, on the EMAC website, under license and reciprocity, it states that whenever any person pulls a license, certificate, or other permit issued by any state, evidencing the meeting of qualifications, such person shall be deemed licensed, certified, or permitted by the state requesting assistance. To clarify, I would be able to work in New York City as an unvaccinated New Jersey paramedic, but unable to work in New York City as an unvaccinated New York City paramedic. I hope this letter can put in perspective how the COVID-19 vaccine mandates destroyed the core of the city and frontline workers. What was done to the hardworking people of New York City was and still is absolutely criminal. May I remind the council that members who lost their jobs 2 years ago have not been hired back. Yet the city knows that in the case of mutual aid, those who are vaccinated are obligated to conclude. Please conclude. Yes. I am also a named plaintiff in the KKNYFRL, the New Yorkers for Religious Liberty versus City of New York case, which is still being heard by the attorneys Nelson Madden Black, ADF, Freedom Council, with assistance from attorneys Fujata Gibson, Christina Martinez, and attorney Melinda Hall. Their damage can be repaired, and there's always a time to change. Please come Reso 5 and hire back all those who have lost their jobs in life. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to remind panelists, it is 2 minutes. We have been very generous with time, allowing people to go over, but going over doesn't mean speaking for an additional 5 minutes. Please respect the rules of this chamber and of this council. 2 minutes. If you go a little over, we're giving you grace to speak because this is your moment to speak, and we understand the severity of the case you're bringing forward, but not for an extra 5 minutes, please. So up next we have Zena Wujaw, and I'm sorry, I know I'm messing up your last name. If you could re-identify yourself and correct the record.
Time starts.
The last name is Waju. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I was a New York City public school teacher for 2 years, serving in my school as the only EML teacher for a school that had a high population of English language learners, as well as an alternative school that serves young people who are returning to school. I was removed from my position and placed on a leave without pay in October 2021. Some of the impacts of that, because it was extended through my, to me, kind of runaround exemption appeals process, which lasted for 6 months. As a part of that LWOP status, I was restricted from seeking gainful employment elsewhere. I was also restricted from seeking unemployment benefits and from seeking food and nutrition benefits, which were needed in my household, as I was the sole income provider in my home. Some long-term effects have been since the termination that happened in the spring of 2022. A depletion of my savings during the leave without pay period, where I had no other resources except what I had saved. Being significantly reduced in terms of my retirement income, which I was told when I pursued an appointment with the retirement specialist, who also told me to just take the shot and go back, and then I wouldn't have a problem. That I will not be able to recover that because that time was not pensionable, and I have not been paying into the system. I also haven't achieved the age or the service time required in order for me to retire at the time that I was supposed to. I was also denied unemployment benefits again after I was approved by New York State Department of Labor. The city, my employer, stepped in and created a story to say that I was not eligible, and so those benefits were cut off, and I have been making my way, navigating on my own. Again, I supported myself and my own household, but also I have always been a support to my extended family through the stability of my job and through the resources that I was able to get through there, and that has stopped.
Your time has expired. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Xavier Vasquez.
Time starts.
Hi. I'm a Marine Corps veteran. I served 2 tours in Iraq. Was motivated after the devastating things that happened in 9/11. I was terminated in 2022 for my religious beliefs. My religious exemption got denied. I also practiced my rights to not disclose if I was vaccinated or not, which I never did. I did comply with the weekly testing, despite of that, because I was coerced to do that or have to be escorted outside of the building. I lost a secure job that I trusted after I joined the Marine Corps. I did get my social degree. I didn't continue because I trusted the city to keep me employed. I've been impacted by the termination. My family has struggled to eat, to keep the utilities on. We've had to sell our house, get rid of our animals. That's even including farm animals, because I had a dream home. I was happy to be in the FDNY. I support the Reso 5 for us to go back to our jobs, but in the same time, I would like to feel some security that once we go back to our jobs, that we have the option of retiring, because of the stigma that's been created. The division has been prejudice that where the unvaccinated has caused a little bit of a stir at a division, is what I would say. And I don't really trust the city anymore that I fought for overseas. I honestly feel betrayed, and I almost lost my family because of the emotional trauma that is caused within family. I had a really hard time being able to make sure that my family stays alive during these days. I had a 1-year-old baby, 3-year-old, 17-year-old, and 12-year-old that has ADHD. So to be honest, I feel very betrayed and hurt, and I'll just leave it at that.
Thank you, Mr. Vasquez. Councilmember Ariola has just 2 questions for you.
Firefighter Vasquez, did you have an Article 78 filed?
I won my Article 78, and the city has appealed it. They told the judge that I can call my job at any time and get my job back, in which I did. I called them, and I also emailed them, and they directed me back to the city, saying that they were instructed that everything's being handled in court, so they denied me to get my job back. So I have my lawyer, Christina Martinez, represented me currently in federal court.
When the NY told you that, did they give you a reason that you were not being allowed to come back to work, even though the court mandated that you won the lawsuit and your right to go back to work? Did they give you a reason why?
No, they gave me no reason, and there's a lot of confusion on why I'm not allowed to go back. It just seems discriminatory in many different ways.
Thank you so much for your testimony, Mr. Benedict.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for coming and testifying, sharing your story. If you are currently on Zoom and wish to speak but have not yet had the opportunity to do so, please use the raise hand function and our staff will unmute you. Seeing no hands, I would like to know that everyone can submit their testimony at council.nyc.gov within 72 hours of this hearing. To conclude, I would like to thank my colleagues.
Thank you, Chair.
Ms. Ariola, who's still here, and all of you who came out to share your stories. Making sure that the administration of benefits for city employees is a more seamless process, as well as of the staff who have helped to prepare this hearing as well. They're all city employees. We want to thank them for coming, for allowing us to have this important hearing on city benefits. In addition, we would also like to thank all of you who are still sitting in this room for sharing your stories. As I said before, this is not the first time you're here. We're looking forward to getting Resolution 5 passed and for all of you to be reinstated. I'd like to take a moment to express my thank you for all of your interest and your advocacy today. Thank you for all the work that you do and for your collective service to our city. With that, this hearing is not concluded, and I hope everyone makes it home safe.